It began with darkness, a suffocating void pressing against my chest. Then a sound, slow, deliberate dripping, like blood splashing into a steel basin. My eyes adjusted, though I could already tell this place was wrong. The air reeked of rust and decay, the walls pulsed as if they were alive, and shadows slithered along the edges of my vision. I was in a corridor, long and endless, lined with doors that seemed to whisper as I passed. Each handle was slick, each keyhole oozed something viscous. The sound of my bare feet against the cold stone floor was muffled, swallowed by whatever force ruled this place. One door stood ajar. I shouldn't have gone in, but I did. Inside was a room filled with figures. No, not figures, but mannequins, frozen in moments of torment. A woman with her mouth sewn shut, a man whose fingers had been replaced with rusted nails. Their glassy eyes twitched toward me as I moved. A mirror at the far end reflected not me, but a version of myself with hollow sockets where my eyes should have been. A voice behind me whispered, "You shouldn't be here." I turned. No one. But the mirror shattered, and the shards embedded themselves into my skin. Pain flared white-hot, and the ground fell away. I landed in another space, this one a vast, endless field of blackened grass and dead trees. A crimson moon hung low in the sky. Figures stood still in the distance, their faces obscured by sacks stitched tightly around their heads. They were chanting in low, guttural voices, their heads snapping upward in unison when they noticed me. I ran, but the ground beneath me was soft, flesh-like. With every step, I sunk deeper, and something beneath the surface began pulling at my ankles. I don't know how long I screamed. When I awoke, I was in my own bed, drenched in sweat and gasping for air. The digital clock on my nightstand blinked, 3:33 a.m. Relief washed over me. It was just a nightmare, a horrible, vivid nightmare. But then I noticed it, a shard of glass. A tiny, blood-stained shard of mirror glass resting on my pillow, and etched into its surface were two words, "Still here." I tried to shake it off. Dreams have a way of lingering, staining your thoughts for hours after waking, but something felt off. The shadows in my room seemed too deep, too still. I got out of bed, turned on the light, and stared at the shard. It wasn't just glass. It felt heavy, cold, and it hummed, almost as if it was alive. I placed it carefully in a drawer, trying to convince myself it was just my mind playing tricks. But as I walked past the mirror in my hallway, I froze. My reflection wasn't right. There was something in the background, a faint figure standing behind me, just out of focus. I spun around, nothing. But when I looked back at the mirror, it was closer. Over the next few days, things got worse. The shard would move. I'd leave it in the drawer and find it on my pillow again. I started hearing whispers, faint and crawling, echoing in the silence. Words I couldn't quite make out. Sleep became impossible. Every time I closed my eyes, I was back in that corridor, hearing the dripping, feeling the air pressing against my lungs. One night, I couldn't take it anymore. I smashed the shard with a hammer, shattering it into dust. But instead of relief, the whispers grew louder, and then I heard a knock at my door. 3 knocks. Slow. Deliberate. I froze, staring at the door, my breath caught in my throat. Whoever, or whatever, was on the other side wasn't knocking for permission. It was knocking because it knew I couldn't stop it. I stepped back, gripping the hammer tightly. The door creaked open on its own. There was nothing there. But the shadows in my room grew longer, darker. I could feel something watching me, something lurking just out of sight. And then I saw it. The mirror on the wall was no longer reflecting my room. It was reflecting that place. The corridor, the mannequins, the crimson moon. And there, standing at the edge of the glass, was me, hollow-eyed, expressionless, and smiling. It raised a single finger to its lips, a universal gesture for silence. Then it whispered, "You shouldn't be here." The mirror cracked, but it didn't shatter. Instead, it bled. I don't know how long I stood there staring. But when I blinked, everything returned to normal. The mirror was whole again. The shard was back on my pillow. And etched into the glass, in blood this time, was a new message. See you soon. Have you ever had a dream so real it left something behind, or felt like something followed you back from your nightmares? If you enjoyed this nightmare-fueled tale, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss a story. Share your own dream horror stories in the comments below.